In this video, we will be repairing the driver's side front seat belt in this 2008 Hyundai Elantra. From inside the vehicle, when we pull on the driver's side front seat belt, we can hear an unusual sound that it is not moving very smoothly. To fix this, we're first going to locate a small circular plastic cover piece located just above the seat belt. And using a small flathead screwdriver, we're going to pop that little plastic cover piece off. And inside there we can see a 10mm bolt, which we need to remove. We can then use our trim removal tools to work that upper trim piece off. And we very carefully want to work that forward at the top. And then we can work our way down very carefully. And we're going to continue on with our trim removal tool all the way down to the base. As we work those trim pieces out, we can take a close look at the connecting points. And if we take a look inside there, we can see that we have two small tabs or clips that connect the top to the bottom. We can work those off. If we pull that trim out, we can start seeing the bottom portion of the seat belt. As we take a look at our seat belt assembly, the problem area is the plastic cap on the left side. This is what contains some of the components that rotate, and when this cap cracks or breaks or gets popped off, those components don't seat properly. If we move the seat belt to the side, we can see a 10mm bolt holding the top of it on, and then located towards the bottom we have a 14mm bolt. Both of these we want to remove. Now that 14mm bolt will not come all the way out, it'll just loosen up and then spin. If we slowly work this out, we do have a wiring harness we need to be aware of. Now again, the problem area is this outer plastic cap. This becomes loose and it causes all of the components on the inside to also become loose. If we take a closer look, we can actually see where one of our tabs has broken off. I went to the salvage yard and picked up a new cover. On this cover, we do want to pay particular attention to the small plastic nub that is at the bottom of this plastic cover. If we flip that over, that corresponds to our component that expands when that nub gets pushed in, which holds that in place. By using a very small punch, we can push that small plastic cylinder out of place, which will allow those two arms to come in. We need to keep this in mind for our existing one on the vehicle. Additionally, we want to be careful with those plastic ends, as that is what broke on the current vehicle. So we want to be careful on the installation process that those don't get cracked or broke. And if we reorient that component on our vehicle, we can see that small plastic nub that needs to be pushed through. And then we can come in with some needle nose pliers and work that out. We can then work off our old cover and work on our new cover. and then replace that pin. And then we want to verify that those top clips are secure. And we can then work through the process of reinstalling both that 10mm and 14mm bolt. And you want to start these by hand to reduce the chance that they get cross-threaded. And at this point, we should be able to go ahead and pull on the seat belt just to make sure that it sounds good. If I pull real hard, it will catch there. So that's looking good. So we're going to go ahead and tighten down that 14mm bolt and install our 10mm bolt. And one additional test, everything's looking good. And at this stage, we are able to reinstall all of our trim components. I'm going to connect my top piece first, getting that lined up with any clips that are in place. Making sure that weather stripping doesn't get pinched. We do want to line up our adjustment lever. Test that out. More weather stripping. And make sure everything's tight. Test out that adjustment again. Test out our seat belt again. We're looking good. And we have our 10mm bolt up at the top as well. I will caution you to not drop this bolt down inside of there. Start it by hand and finish up with a ratchet. And then lastly, our cap. And at this point, this repair is done and the seatbelt is working great again and everything looks good. Now, one thing to note, the seat belt will only allow you to pull it out if it is perfectly vertical. So if I pull my seat belt horizontally or even diagonally, it gets stuck. If I go perfectly vertical, that will allow me to pull the seat belt out. So as you are working with this, just keep that in mind. It has to be perfectly vertical. If we open this up, we can see a tiny metal ball. This is in part what is activating the belt from getting stuck. That ball does move around in there. So if that ball is not perfectly at the bottom, then it will essentially trigger the seat belt to get stuck. If we remove that, we have another component in here. And if we remove that, that's what the inside looks like. Now on this, we have this small little tab that corresponds to a hole in our components. So if this does come apart, we need to line that up. Then we need to line this up correctly. On the back side, we have a couple tabs as well. That should snap into place. And then we have our cap.